a young woman scales down a prison using bedsheets, escaping into the night with the help of a corrections officer. She's allegedly seduced. But is she the manipulative mastermind prosecutors painted her to be? Or a victim of circumstance and a flawed justice system? This isn't just a story about murder. It's a complex tale that challenges our assumptions about guilt, justice, and the power of perception. Welcome to GBRLIFE Transmissions. I'm your host, Caitlin, and you're listening to GBRLIFE of Crimes, where we explore not just what happened in crimes committed by women, but why it happened, and the psychology behind them. Today, we're examining a case that raises troubling questions about the nature of manipulation and culpability. A story where the line between perpetrator and victim becomes increasingly blurred. Who is the center of this controversial case? Sarah Jo Pender. The year is 2000, and in a quiet Indianapolis neighborhood, two bodies are discovered in a dumpster. The victims are Andrew Cataldi and Tricia Nordman, roommates of Sarah Jo Pender and her boyfriend, Richard Hull. What follows is a case that would divide public opinion and raise serious questions about the justice system. But before we dive into the October night in Indianapolis, we need to understand where Sarah Jo Pender came from. Born in 1979, Sarah's early life seemed remarkably stable compared to many cases we cover on this show. She grew up in a middle-class family in Indiana, was an honor roll student, and showed no early signs of violent tendencies or criminal behavior. Sarah's development is utterly ordinary. Friends from her high school describe her as intelligent, friendly, and well-adjusted. She was active in school activities and maintained good grades. Like I said, she was on the honor roll. This background would later contribute to the debate over her true nature. Was she really the manipulative mastermind prosecutors claimed? Or was she a normal young woman caught in an extraordinary circumstance? After graduating high school, Sarah enrolled in college with plans to study chemistry. She worked various jobs to support herself and seemed to be on a typical path toward a productive adult life. But things began to change when she met Richard Hull in 1999. The relationship would alter the course of her life in ways no one could have predicted. Hull was different from Sarah's previous boyfriends. He had a criminal record and was involved in substance dealing. But aren't they all? Despite this, or perhaps because of it, Sarah was drawn to him. They moved in together quickly, and they shared a house with Andrew Cataldi and his girlfriend, Tricia Nordman. Living arrangement would prove to be fatal. The household dynamic was volatile from the start. Cataldi was also involved in substance dealing, and there were more frequent arguments about money and substances. Sarah maintained her regular job while living in this increasingly unstable environment, straddling two very different worlds: her normal work life and her very chaotic home life. Then comes October 24th, 2000. The details of what happened that night remain contested. Results, however, are undeniable. Andrew Cataldi and Tricia Nordman were unalived. Their bodies were found wrapped in blankets in a dumpster. The murder weapon was purchased by Sarah just days before it happened. Here's where the case becomes complex. Richard confessed to the crime, but claimed that Sarah was the mastermind behind the murders. According to Richard, Sarah manipulated him into getting rid of the roommates, using her intelligence and sexuality to convince him to commit the crimes. However, his story would change multiple times during the investigation. Sarah's version was dramatically different. She admitted to purchasing the weapon, but claimed it was for protection, specifically for her boyfriend and his substance dealings. She maintained that she was not present during the crime and only helped dispose of the bodies out of fear. This raises an interesting psychological question. Can someone be both victim of a circumstance and complicit in a crime? Many of you are probably shaking your head yes. The investigation revealed conflicting evidence. While Sarah had purchased the weapon, there was no physical evidence linking her to the actual crime. the prosecution built their case largely on circumstantial evidence and testimony from Richard, who received a reduced sentence in exchange for testifying against her. I know what you're thinking. It's clear that it was all made up by him. But we're not done. The trial in 2002 captivated Indianapolis. Prosecutors portrayed Sarah as the masterful manipulator who used her intelligence and charm to orchestrate the crime while keeping her own hands clean. The defense argued she was a young woman under the influence of a violent boyfriend who helped cover up his crimes out of fear and misplaced loyalty. What's particularly notable about the trial was how the prosecution's narrative relied heavily on gender stereotypes about female manipulation. They painted a picture of Sarah as a modern-day femme fatale, using her intelligence and sexuality to control everyone around her. This characterization would follow her long after her conviction, and the jury found Sarah guilty of 2 counts of murder, and she was sentenced to 110 years in prison. But her story was far from over. What happened next would only add to the controversy surrounding her case, and what makes her case the most interesting. In August of 2008, Sarah escaped from Rockville Correctional Facility with the help of prison guard Scott Spittler, whom she had allegedly seduced. This escape seemed to confirm the prosecution's portrayal of her as a master manipulator, and she remained free for 136 days, earning a spot on America's Most Wanted before being recaptured. Yet even this episode raises questions. Was the escape evidence of her manipulative nature or a desperate act by someone who believed that they were wrongfully convicted? The correction officer who helped her escape later claimed he truly believed in her innocence. And what makes this case intriguing is how it challenges our understanding of manipulation and culpability. Is manipulation itself a form of violence? Can someone be both victim and perpetrator, which I've questioned before? And these questions become even more complex when we examine the power dynamics between Sarah and Hull. Let's examine the key elements of Sarah's psychological profile, acknowledging that much of this is contested. First, we have her observed traits: highly intelligent, social adaptability, and ability to form strong interpersonal connections. Then we see her relationship patterns: attracted to antisocial personalities, codependent tendencies, and possible vulnerability to manipulation herself. Finally, we notice her survival mechanisms: adaptability in different social contexts, ability to gain trust, and strong self-preservation instincts. The case has continued to generate controversy. Some observers, including journalists and legal experts, have questioned the fairness of her trial and reliability of Hull's testimony. Others point to her escape as proof. She's manipulative, see? In 2014, Sarah's case gained new attention when Hull reportedly confessed to solely planning and carrying out the murders to another inmate. However, this potential evidence of her innocence has not led to a new trial. As of now, Sarah remains in prison. Her case, a subject of ongoing debate. This case forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about how we view women in the criminal justice system. It challenges our assumptions about manipulation, coercion, and culpability. It also raises important questions about how gender stereotypes can influence criminal proceedings and public perception. And finally, it brings up that age-old debate. Because if she really did commit the crimes, is it nature or nurture? This has been GBRLIFE of Crimes, part of GBRLIFE Transmissions. I'm Caitlin, reminding you that understanding the darkness helps us appreciate the light. Join us next time as we explore another case that challenges our understanding of the criminal mind.